Hello students, today we discuss that pollinating agents under. Last class we discussed male as well as female gametes under. So what is how many types of the, according to source of the pollen grains, how many types of the pollination? There are two types of pollination. One is the self-pollination, another one is the cross-pollination. Self-pollination, no need to require any type of the agents and all. Then cross-pollination, it must be required. There is a separate specific agents and all. What is the necessary? Because of both male as well as female gametes in plants, both are this one non-motile. That gametes are non-motile. So in plants, both male as well as female gametes are non-motile, except self-pollination. Self-pollination also there is no the specific motile nature and all. But in cross-pollination, it must be required a specific agents and all. So based on these agents and all, there are two important. So exam point of view, what is the necessary for requirement of pollinating agents and all? Because of both male and female gametes in flowering plants, those are this one non-motile and all. Then how many types of pollinating agents? There are two types, that is abiotic as well as biotic agents and all. Abiotic agent as well as biotic agent. Which one it represents? We call it as abiotic agent. Among these two, which is the maximum percentage of these pollinating agents under biotic agent act as the maximum regarding related to it act as this one pollinating agent when you compare to abiotic and all. Why? Because abiotic agent there may be chance, not 100%, 50-50 there may be chance under. Abiotic agent there may be chance for getting pollination and all. But biotic agent, there is a maximum probability for taking of this pollination and all. Abiotic, which one we call as abiotic agents and all? That is air as well as water. Air act as this one we call as anemophily. Water it act as this one hydrophily. Both we call as abiotic pollinating agents and all. Then biotic agents, normally we call as animals. Normally it represents as this one animals and all. What type of animals? Either honeybees. In that animals, majority of this one related to insects and all. In insects, majority that bees related to honey bees and all. Apart from this one, butterflies are present, dragonfly is present. Apart from this one, vertebrate organism. Recently they found one among these related to reptile organisms also, like gecko, one type of the lizard. Lizards also, it is ready to transmit the pollen grains from one to another and all. So reptiles, in the reptiles, some of the particular plants related to snakes also it is present and all. As well as birds, some of these mammals like lemur or some other primates, like that. Most of these animals, in that animals, statement level of questions, what type of animals act as a vital role for pollinating agents? As in animals and all, that is the bees and all. Apart from this one, reptiles is there, birds is there, mammals is there, like this many different types of like molluscan animals, all different types of animals, it must be present and all. In this one, air or wind, that is we called as anemophily. Anemophily, the pollination which takes place through wind or air, we call as anemophily. So many times, multiple number of times in previous NEET exam they asked. So what are the particular characteristic features of the specific type of the pollen grains and all. The pollination which takes place through wind. What is the particular characteristic features? In these characters, normally light, it is normally it is present into the lightweight. It is lightweight. It is more number. It is more number as well as non-sticky. The pollen grains are non-sticky. That means dry condition. It is present dry condition. So lightweight, large in number, then is non-sticky, more probably single ovule. Each ovary contain single ovule. This is the most common type, but there may be chance. Suppose wind direction at the time of moving and suddenly it will be changed, again it will be rotate the direction. Why? Because this is non-motile nature. That's why according to wind current, whatever the direction, it must be moving and all. That's why it is a lightweight and all. That's why it produces large, more number of this one. That is, it is related to non-sticky nature. Such type of characteristic features they must give in question and all. Then what type of pollination normally takes place if such type of the pollen grains are present and all. Then your answer will be the wind pollination or air pollination, otherwise we call as anemophily and all. In this anemophily example, what type of the plants? Normally it must be observable and all. It is bamboo plant as well as coconut plant and grasses. So more probably in grasses, mostly it will be takes place and as well as maize. Like it is present, it is a single ovary consists of single ovule, a group of multiple number. It forms in the form of the cob, that means a tassel. It is present more number, that is related to maize. That is such type of this, it will be present regarding related to, that is date palm. Date palm, it is also present as well as sugar cane. Such type of the organisms, such type of the plants, commonly it observable into the anemophily. That means that wind pollination takes place. So there may be chance, probability, not 100% probability, there may be chance and all. Because of all these characteristic features, it must be takes place. Apart from this one, some additional type of the organism. It is also, it must be takes place in the potamegeton. Potamegeton, normally it is the aquatic plants and all. Even the aquatic plant, it must be takes place pollination through wind and all. One among the aquatic plants like potamegeton. Like aquatic plant also, it must be takes place air pollination. That is, then what about wind pollination? That means water pollination. Water pollination, otherwise we call as hydrophily. All aquatic plants may not take place water pollination. That means hydrophilous and or water pollination and all. Majority of this one, they prefer to the between these two, which is the maximum probability that wind or air. Then only 30% 30 genera in the aquatic plants. 30 genera of aquatic plants only it involves that water pollination. So remaining that the primitive organisms like algae as well as bryophytes and pteridophytes, these particular one male gametes it must transfer, it must be traveling with the help of the water current and all. So in these particular organisms, the male gametes transfer through water current. Without water, it unable. That's why the less number of species, that means bryophyte, pteridophytes are present. Why? Because in that gametophytic stage, one among the male, it must be traveling with the help of the water current and all. That's why higher organisms like freshwater organisms like Vallisneria, especially Vallisneria, it requires, even though it will be present inner part of the water and the male and female, that particular flowers, it must be enter upper surface of the water body and all. In Vallisneria, that both that male flower as well as female flowers, both male and female flowers, it must become outer surface of the body. Both it will become upper surface of the water body. Upper surface of the water body, it must be moving through passively water current. According to water movement, passively the male flower with the help of the water current, it must be moving towards the female flowers and all. Even though the flowers are present inner part of the water, but after maturation, it becomes superficial part of the water body and all. There both water, that male and female flowers are, it must be fusion. That is such type of fertilization it will be takes place and all. Such type of pollination we call as, that is epihydrophily. Epihydrophily in that sense, it is the water, it is aquatic plant. After maturation of male and female flowers and both are it come superficial part of the water body according to passive water movement and both it must be meeting one to another, like that fertilization it must be take place and then related to that sea grasses. Apart from this one, sea grasses like Zostera, Ceratophyllum, Zostera, Ceratophyllum, Hydrilla. This is the submerged one. But sea grasses, especially Zostera, Ceratophyllum. But Hydrilla, it is the purely aquatic one. That is the freshwater submerged one. But all these, it will be takes place similar mode of the pollination. That is hypohydrophily. It takes place hypohydrophily. That means both male flower unable to moving superficial part of the water body. That's why inner part of the female flower, there must be according to water current, the inner submerged part of the male flower only, both are meeting, then fertilization it must be takes place. So first one Vallisneria, it takes place superficial part of the water body. The second one, the sea grasses, the flowers unable to come superficial part of the water body and it must be present inner part of the water body according to inner water currents and both are meeting and fertilization takes place and it is hypohydrophily. Exam point of view, example of hypohydrophily, you must write Ceratophyllum, Hydrilla, Zostera. What is the example of epihydrophily urate related to Vallisneria and all? Some of the aquatic plant, water lily, some of the aquatic plant like water lily as well as water hyacinth. Water lily as well as water hyacinth, both are aquatic plants, but pollination, it never takes place towards the hydrophily and all. Even though both are aquatic plants, this is most important, even though aquatic plants, the pollination takes place either insects or wind. Pollination takes place either insects or wind pollination. Why? Because the flowers superficial part of the water body and all. That's why male and female with the help of the insects or wind, any one among these agents, the pollination, it must be transferred, then fertilization, it takes place on the, especially water lily as well as water hyacinth, both are aquatic plants, but it does not involve into the specific related to hydrophily. It involves either entomophily, insect, towards that insects, such mode of pollination we call as entomophily, or wind pollination we call as anemophily. Any one among these direction, it must be takes place under. Another very important, the organisms, the plants which involves related to hydrophily. Then in this hydrophily, especially that pollen grains, it covered with mucilage. Pollen grains covered with that mucilage sheet and all. Mucilage sheet, but here completely absence of exin and all. It is completely absence of exin is absent. Already previous classes I told, in pollen grain they will be present two membranes, outer exin, inner intine and all. Here in aquatic whatever pollen grains, it completely absence of exin. Instead of this one, mucilage cover, mucilage or mucilage sheet, it will be present, but exin it will be absent and for protection purpose are unable to take place such type of activities and but exin will be absent, but only whatever the intine membrane which are present, the specific intine membrane only it will be present. That's why it is a mucus or mucilage, it will be present and but these pollen grains, it is also unable to, that means non-motile in their nature and all. Here also there may be chance and all, there may be probability and all. So there may be possibility or probability, not 100% and all. That's why here also maximum, here also two cell stage, it must be releasing, it must be dehiscence and after reaching that specific, that particular stigma and then ready to germinate that pollen tube and for further fertilization process and all. Then another very important related to pollination and that is none other than entomophily. There is a biotic one. In that biotic, that is we call as entomophily. That means insects. The plants which must be take pollination through insects, it compulsory attractive petals. What are the attractive petals? The maximum amount of nectar, then abundant nectar, the sticky pollen grains, that means it is present pollen stick. It is present pollen stick or otherwise we call as pollen kit and all. It is otherwise we call as pollen kit and all. So attractive. Suppose if it is moths, that means the fragrance, that odor. If it is moths, fragrance, odor. If it is moths, if it involves if it takes place such type of one. Apart from this one, it must be provided that particular pollen grains, it must provide that particular rewards and the rewards. What type of rewards? Like pollen as well as nectar. Some of the organism it must eat pollen grain as a food material because of protein it must be covering and then nectar as a food material and so pollen rewards. So it is most important whenever entomophilus, then it is attractive petals. Quite opposite. Suppose anemophily, hydrophily, there is no attractive petals and abundant nectar. In those organisms, in those type of the plants and like anemophily and the completely absence of nectar. So colorless petals as well as absence of nectar present in the following type of the mode of the pollination. They give options either anemophily, entomophily, both and many different. So quite opposite. So that is unattractive petals, that is colorless petals, that is nectar will be absent both in this abiotic one. Abiotic pollination, that is quite opposite. If it is biotic one, it is attractive as well as sticky pollen. Why? Because it must be traveling along with the animals and sometimes maybe primates also. That's why in that one it must binding, sticky. That's why it will be present into the spines. The outer surface of pollen grains is present to the spines. These spines it binds. Then it is moving away. Then if it is moths are related to, it gives a particular type of the odor. Either it is a foul odor, whether it is a good odor, bad odor, according to type of that particular organism and all. Then rewards and all. It gives as in the form of the nutrient food material as well as in the form of nectar. Some type of this organism, some type of the plants and all. It is ready to provide laying of eggs and all. Some flowers provide laying of. So these flowers, what type of rewards? Inside the locules, inside the flower, inside the ovary, especially on locule, in flower locules, it ready to providing the laying of eggs related to insects and all. It is also one type of, especially Amorphophilus, one among the large, even though it is present related to larger size of this flower and all. Amorphophilus. Such type of the larger size of the flowers and all, it must be present and all. That is compulsory, it will be takes place and all in the insects and all. Then apart from this one, apart from these insects and all, it is also, it involves in these insects. What type of plants? Most of the plants, especially honeybees, it ready to take place and all. It ready to that one to another flower. While traveling, while migrating, while taking in the form of the food material, then automatically the abdominal part it touch to the pollen grains and all. These automatically it will be traveling from one to another and all. Like this manner, it must be stick on that particular stigma and all. Then some of these one mandatory, obligatory, compulsory. So compulsory, mandatory, obligatory. Without that specific particular insect, that plant unable to pollination. Without that plant, that specific insect unable to complete in its life cycle. So that is obligatory pollinating agents are present and all. That is related to orchid. Orchid, it will be present wasp and all. That is ophrys. One type of the genus, largest part of this genus in orchid and all, that wasp. Wasp, that such type of this particular insect, it ready to pollinating and all. Then yucca plant, like pranuba moth. Yucca plant, pranuba moth. yucca, pranuba matanda. Like this one, fig tree, that is blastophaga. So these are compulsory, mandatory. Without, suppose there is no blastophaga, particular insect, and they are unable to complete the life cycle. Why? Because one among these life cycle for growth and development, it must be required and all. So obligatory, mandatory, compulsory, it must be required and all. This specific type of these particular things and all. Yucca plant, orchid and all, fig tree and all, such type of this one and all. Then apart from this one, some of these, most of these Anemophilus related to monocots as well as gymnosperms. Gymnosperms also more probably related to Anemophilus only. Why? Because there is no attractive petals and all. Then some other organisms which must be involved and all, it takes place. The pollination takes place. The pollination takes place one among the mammal, that is the flying mammal, that is the Chiropterophily. Example, that is Caesalia. It is example Caesalia. Then apart from this one, Myrmecophily, that means ants and all. In these ants related to Acacia prosopis. Acacia as well as prosopis, such type of these plants, the pollination takes place through ants and all. Then ornithophily, the pollination takes place through birds. Birds in that sense, sunbird as well as hummingbird as well as honeybird, such type of this one. Like begonia, related to begonia, bauhinia, such type of this one commonly we observe and all. Then Ophiophily, the pollination takes place through snakes and all. Like santalum, that means sandalwood. In sandalwood, santalum album, the pollination, it involves related to Ophiophily, that means snakes and all. Okay? Remaining, we will continue, we will discuss in next class.